I hope you're able to hear me. Okay, so perfect. So we will move on to understanding what is ego. Okay, and ego typically is something to do with attachment to a wrong image of myself. So we spoke about self-image, and there were a lot of aspects that came in talk when we spoke about self-image. And there is a very strong linkage, of course, to all the S's when ego is taken into consideration, but attachment to a wrong image of myself. And ego need not necessarily mean that it is feeling superior to others. It can also mean feeling inferior to others. So how do we like sort of define ego? I mean, it's very beautifully actually said. Any image that is not our true identity, or true identity to others, true identity to self, or true identity to others, is basically ego. And we need to be able to understand this. So for that, I want to ask a question to you. What creates ego? What creates ego? You can either type it in the comment box, or you can I think I don't think you'll be able to unmute and speak, but if you do want to unmute yourself, you can raise your hands. But um, what creates see, the ego is something that you need to understand. What is it that is creating it? So there is a false image about yourself that you are basically identifying with that image, and that false image can either be with yourself or it can be with others. Whatever patterns of behavior that you've been experiencing with self or with others, that's what is ego, right? Now, like I said, in the any image that is not our true identity or true identity of others is ego. So what creates it? You can type it in there, and you can think about it. In case you're taking notes, you can think about it. What is it that creates ego? Okay, and my question to you is, could it be roles and positions? Could it be something else? Like, let us bring in examples of what is it that creates ego for us to understand. What is it that creates ego? We need to be able to understand it with examples. Okay, so what I'm going to be bringing up is roles and positions. Okay, now roles and positions in a particular society are different. Like, for example, the role of a CEO, the role of a manager, the role of a peon in the office. These are roles, and these are positions that people are occupying in a particular office format. And that role or position can be high or low, which is the fact, right? But when you're speaking to a CEO, when you're speaking to a senior manager, when you're speaking to a manager, and when you're speaking to the peon, are you speaking in a similar way? Are you speaking in a very exact same way when you speak to these people, or is it different? How do you experience yourself? Are you speaking, in a very servile kind of a way, with CEOs? And when you speak to people who are peons, how are you? Are you like commanding? There are a lot of, it's very different when you speak to people who are in different roles and positions. Has it happened with you? Yes, no, maybe you can type it there, right? So roles and positions have that hierarchy. There is a difference. One is high, one is low. But when you're speaking to people, can you speak to them in a similar, in the same loving and, in a manner that you want to speak to, say, a CEO? Could you speak to the same in the same way with a peon? That's what is the question. So we call the roles higher or lower. We then get attached to our roles and make it our identity. So the moment, you become a senior manager, and you expect that people need to speak to you in a particular way because you are in a role, you're in a position, right? Similarly, it can be even in personal life. The moment you're a wife, your moment you're your husband, these are roles and positions. And when we get attached to our roles, we make it our identity. So higher and lower roles then become superior and inferior people. And that's where the whole problem is. The moment the roles that are there, you start judging those roles in terms of people, like the way the person is. So if a peon is has a role of a peon, but he or she doesn't become superior or inferior in any way. If we are able to talk to the CEO, to the manager, to your peers, to your subordinate, and the peon in a same way, then we are not bringing the higher and lower aspect of it there, right? So this creates ego. When you are the roles and positions, you become attached to it, and when the roles and positions become superior and inferior, then you're basically, it's ending up sort of creating ego. So you can give them regard, you can give them regard for the roles and positions that they have acquired because of expertise, experience, all of this. Tomorrow when role and position is not there, so which does it mean that you're going to just not speak to them properly because they just don't have roles and positions? So the ego comes in when we get attached and identify ourselves with the roles and positions. So this is what we need to become very, very aware of. Okay. And so the signs of ego or an overactive ego: constant comparison with others, defensiveness, emotional reactivity around people you view as wrong, every time trying to find out that, okay, what is right or wrong, blaming others for your life situation, inability to see things from the perspective of another, right? Extreme sensitivity to criticism. Anything that people are trying to criticize, you get sensitive to it. Always wanting the last word. Every time it has to end with the person's last word has to be that. Inability to have relationships with people who have different worldviews. These are all signs of ego. And as I said, ego can be either superior and it can also be inferior. Ego can be superior or inferior. You might even feel inferior about yourself because you're in a particular position of a role of a peon. So you say, oh, you are all in a very high position. I am in a very low position. Position, you may be in a high or low, but as a person, I have the ability to speak in a same way to everyone. I don't change my tone when I speak to a peon. I don't become commanding just because the person is a peon. And just because the person is a CEO or my boss, I don't become all subservient with that person, right? I know, almost touching the feet of the individual. It's not, both of it is not required, right? So that is where the ego is created. Overactive ego is where there is a issue. Okay, so ego awareness is very critical. Are we in that state where we're getting very, very attached to our identity in terms of roles and positions? That's where. So what is respect? What we spoke about yesterday is again very strongly linked to the intrinsic value. So if you can respect and regard, you can give regard to the person for the position or the role that they carry, right? So you don't have to, so there is a very clear distinction there. So regard can be given, but you don't, so the way you speak in terms of, are you concerned, are you caring, as opposed to what is the kind of energy that you radiate when you're speaking to different roles and positions, whether in professional life or personal life, is what would be the critical aspect in the way that are you able to identify the signs of ego in you? Okay, and therefore are you able to then let go? Because the roles, and as I'm repeating this, the roles and positions can be higher and lower, but not the person, not the person. If we start feeling that the person is higher or lower because of the roles, and and the position that he or she carries, then it becomes an issue for us. And the same thing we start doing with ourselves also. The moment we have a very clear kind of an understanding of how we treat ourselves in whatever positions that we are in, we are able to speak in a very with clarity and thought, because we are clear within ourselves that really roles and positions don't matter. It's the way I'm going to speak to the person for what the person is. Because you may sort of pull a chair and give that to the person for them to sit down because the person is in a higher role. But the way you, or the peon might pull the chair for you, and you have to sit down, and the peon pulls the chair out for you because the peon is not in a great position. And those are expectations of what the peon probably needs to do for a person in, of course, this probably is not in all industries, but I'm just giving an example. So there are expectations of the role. People meet those expectations by whatever that needs to be done in the role. But the way you speak to a person in whatever role or position it is, that is what we have needs to be same. There is may not be a difference, right? So how do we deal with ego is the external courtesies and protocols needs to be according to the roles and positions. So whatever role that you're playing today in your organizations, in your house, and whatever is expected out of that, and that's what comes in very beautifully in the alter ego sessions also that I'm doing, right? Where how can you then create an alter ego? But so whatever protocols and courtesies are expected, you go ahead and do it, which is giving regard, but respect should not change according to the role. So one person you respect more because you're in a higher position. No, the person is the same. The roles and positions may be higher or lower. So this distinction, if you're able to make, then it becomes very easy, because the respect is again not with someone else, the respect is within you. But you start respecting someone else because there are roles and positions there, right? So respect is for the person, which is same for everyone. It's an offshoot of what I was talking yesterday, but I wanted to bring this very clearly, more sort of clarity on how we make a distinction of the ego and self-respect. Because um, if we are clear about this, then it becomes easier for us to deal with both ourselves and people around you, right? So there are some people even in very sort of lower positions are able to gain the respect, because inside they are very clear what is it that they respect their intrinsic values, and whichever position it is, they're able to speak and make a point in that much clarity that it is required. So this is, of course, again, a little more deep, but I would like to sort of, little bit conclude talking about this in today's session, which is where the difference between ego and self-respect comes into a picture. And of course, it's a little more spiritual. All the spiritual gurus talk about this, what is me and versus what is mine, right? So whenever you speak as to what am I or who am I, it is only there you use the word I. Who am I is only that sentence you use the word I. And what do you visualize when you say who am I is yourself. And what do you what do you visualize in the mirror? Is it your whole dress? Is it your face? Is it your hand? Is it your ring? Is it your earring? What comes in when you visualize, when you say, who am I? Do you visualize your dress? Do you visualize your shoes that you're wearing? Do you visualize the earring that you're wearing? Or what do you visualize? For everything else in our body, we generally say, I wear my glasses, I wear my dress, I wear my earrings, I wear my makeup, right? So only for whom am I, you say, so there is a difference between so, when you say I wear my glasses, the glasses becomes mine, right? I wear my dress, that becomes mine. In fact, this is going to the next level where the body, in fact, is the first thing that we are acquiring. which becomes so strong in our identity that we are not able to separate it, because there is a difference between, actually the body and uh, you. So, or what you're wearing and you, right? You're able to see that there is a difference between what you're wearing and you, but you're not able to really see that there is a difference between your body and you. You can actually create that space between your body and you also, because this happens when you're meditating. So the body is the first thing we acquire and make it our identity. And we get so attached to it that it becomes our ego. Our body, relationships, position, religion, nationality, everything that we say I, truth is that it is mine. It is nothing is I. Even your body is not I. It is mine. It is mine, but you can create a distance. It's something that you have acquired. Okay, you can create a distance and look at it in a way so that you can see from a distance what are the things that you need to do to your body, your mind, emotions. So this is a little more deep, especially for people who are spiritual and who are listening to all these gurus. They talk a lot about, me and mine, I and mine. So there's nothing like who am I? It is actually who am I, mine. So the exercise that you need to do is, can you ever visualize that, okay, I am my dress? For a whole day, you just, when you ask this question to yourself, who am I? You just visualize that I am my dress. You cannot visualize, just try visualizing that for the whole day. You will see, then you will become very aware of your ego. Because the truth is that the truth is that anything that is falsely identified either with self or with others is actually the ego. And what you acquire, you start becoming so identified with it that that also is becoming your ego. Every day, this is mine, that is mine, that is mine, everything is mine. But it is not actually you, in the sense there is a distance between what you have acquired and what you are, including your body, including your mind, including your emotion, including maybe your energies. So what we're talking about here today is what you have acquired versus what with me. If we can make a distance, then you will know what is ego, because whatever you have acquired, and if you start uh, identifying it with it and getting very, very attached with it, that becomes your ego. Okay, and if you're able to distance with it, and at the same time, like sort of make a distinction between what is ego and what is higher self. I am a victim of circumstances. I create my reality. I live in scarcity. There is never enough. I live in abundance. There is always enough. I live temporarily, and that is scary. I live temporarily, and that is awesome. I am in competition with the world. I am in harmony with the world. It's complicated. I am happy. So when you move from ego to a sort of a higher self, what happens is you are not really identifying with those attachments and of whatever that you have acquired, right from your dress to the way you look to everything. You don't become attached to it. And you then start respecting your intrinsic values, which is what we talked about yesterday. You start respecting yourself with those intrinsic values that a human being has, and you're able to present yourself with whomever it is, whether it is the CEO or the peon, for the person that the person is, not for the role or the position that the person is acquired. Because if you become attached to the role or the position that the person has acquired, then you become, basically you become highly egocentric, and you talk differently to different people, because you are not clear here about you do not have that self-respect. Somewhere there is a gap. Okay, so the essence very simple. I mean, it seems a little complicated, but it is not. All I'm saying is I let go of my ego's self-will, because ego will come with a lot of things. It will start comparing, it will start, as I said, an active ego. I want to bring that slide again. An active, overactive ego, there will be constant comparison. An overactive ego will be extremely defensive. An overactive ego will emotionally react around people you view as wrong. Overactive ego will be blaming others for your life situation. Overactive ego, inability to see things from the perspective of another. Overactive ego, extreme sensitivity to criticism. Overactive ego, always wanting the last word. Overactive ego is inability to have relationships with people who are different, who have a different worldview. So you become very, very aware of this. And if you become aware of this, then you say, oh, okay, I shouldn't be speaking like this because there is nothing positive about it. It leaves you with energies that are not positively radiating for you to intrinsically respect yourself. So you become away and away from the values that a common human being has, which is of compassion, kindness, divinity, purity. All these are values that normal human being has, which a child has. We become away and away from it over a period of time, developing that ego. Okay, so I let go of my ego's self-will because it will have a lot of its will. You let go of that and see what you're wearing today. Can you think that is you? Be in that observation for a day. It's like, whatever you have acquired, can you think that that is you? It's not. So like that, if you can just let go of it, you can very well do it with a dress, but you're not able to do it with a body or, the various roles, positions, and so many other complicated things that you and I have like sort of kept in our mind. We get attached to it, we identify with it, and ego keeps developing, and you're giving more and more attention and energy to ego's will. Start comparing all of that, right? Blaming. So the energy around ego is not positive at all. And the energy you radiate basically is not going to help you. And so you start moving away and away and away from your true self. So see what you're wearing today. Can you think that is you? No, very clearly. But similarly, your body, can you start thinking that it is you? So people, it's actually not you. I mean, you can make a slight difference, and you can see that you are able to evaluate your body, you are able to evaluate your mind, you are able to evaluate your emotions. So you is different from your dress, which is very clearly understood. You is also different from your mind, body, emotion, and life energies. That you is the true you, which is able to take decisions. Be in touch with it always so that the ego is let gone over a period of time. Because we have developed it so strong, the identities have become very strong that we are not able to let go of that, the ego of it. Okay, so I'll want to quote Ralph's quote here: how we hate this solemn ego that accompanies the learned like a double wherever he goes. Especially this is very strong with learned and very, very intelligent people. They get very attached to their knowledge, their PhDs, their roles, their positions, the designations, and they're not able to let go of it. How we hate this solemn ego that accompanies the learned like a double wherever he or she goes. So this is what Ralph is talking about, ego as to it's such an enemy to us. Okay, so let's tell the affirmation together on this. On what will you let go of? I'll let go of my ego self-will. And then today's assignment, see what you are wearing today. Can you think that it is you? Think of it, that this is something that you can think of, but you cannot probably think of that and the body. Okay, so that's what we're getting into. Okay, so let's tell the affirmation together, and I'll say 3, 2, 1. We do it together, and then you can think of the assignment also. Okay, there I go. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Okay, let me unmute. I think I have not allowed the participants. Okay, I think now you can all speak. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Now I'll go 3, 2, 1, and you say that, and then look at the assignment. There you go. 3, 2, 1.
I let go of my ego self-will.
Okay, and you can say it another 2 times. 3, 2, 1.
I let go of my ego's self-will.
And one last time. 3, 2, 1.
I let go of my ego's self-will.
Okay. Good. So the question, if you have any doubts on the question on the assignment, you can get back to me. It is just like sort of getting aware of whatever you have acquired. It can be your position, it can be your role, it can be your designation, it can be in your personal and professional life, whatever that is actually playing and also troubling you probably. You know, if you look at it, just observe it, see what you're wearing today. Can you think that is you? Similarly, see what are the roles and positions that you have acquired. Is that you? Just think about that and be in that observation for a day. Okay. So thank you so much, ladies, for being here. And tomorrow we'll be doing self-compassion. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.